Welcome to our 128th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog Podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about Gutenberg 22.7 version and dive a bit deeper into the dev notes for 7.0 that have been published as we record this on March 12th in 2026. I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times and a core contributor for the WordPress open source project sponsored by Automatic. And today, I'm very happy to say Maggie Cabrera joins me on the show. Maggie is a JavaScript developer and theme builder and contributing full-time to the open source project and also sponsored by Automatic. So welcome to the show, Maggie. How are you today?
Hi, I'm really good. Thank you for having me again. Really excited.
Yeah. It's been a long time, so maybe a year and a half or even 2 years, since we've been on the show.
At least 1 year. Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention in the intro that you're also a co-developer. You were co-developer on the 2024 theme, which was one of the first full-featured block default themes and has gotten a lot of work out through the WordPress community, because I think that started when people started with a default theme and just adjusted things and created that for client work or for private projects. And the others were okay. And I really like the 2023 part where there was a community push to get more style variations in. That was really cool. Yeah, I think I need to go back to them to look at those again to get some ideas there.
Yeah, I think it's funny looking back at them and how each of those themes on 2025 to have like a different things from it that you would want to reuse today, because they haven't gone out of style really. And hopefully soon we'll be able to do that kind of thing where you can have multiple themes installed, be able to reuse like patterns or style variations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know that people are actually working on it. There was an idea to have the template management a little bit more safe for people.
Ella, I think,
Ella was working on it, and she switched to priorities to revisions for 7.0.
Yeah, hopefully maybe 7.1.
I also think that that's part of it, that you can have multiple templates for the same slug. We talked about it on the show when we talked about 6.9 and what was coming, and from the Gutenberg. It's still in Gutenberg, but it's experimental now, and you have to open it up through the experiments time. But yeah, I really like that. And then that you can reuse patterns. That's definitely something. Yeah, we'll see what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
So for WordPress 7.0, you worked on several features, for instance, bringing the pseudo selectors to the theme JSON and patterns for the navigation overlays.
Yeah.
And the navigation overlays was really got a few oohs when I demoed it last night at the meetup in Munich. And it was really cool to see. There were also some tiny things where I said, oh, I didn't know that they were getting so much excited out of people. Yeah, the revisions, of course, was one. And the other one was that you can have a paragraph now create columns. Yeah, so you have just one setting and you switch it on, and then you can have a paragraph display in 2 or 3 columns depending on the site. Yeah, and that is really cool. Yeah. Well, anyway, so
the overlay work has been in the making for so long. And I'm so excited that finally made it. And I'm really happy with how it ended up looking by the time, like the deadline of the release. I think there will still be follow-ups and stuff, but I think it's really, really nice. I not only worked on the patterns, but I also worked on the whole setup for themers to extend that. So a themer, but that was like previous work, I guess, but all made it to the release. So a themer will be able to create a template part for the overlay to set up as a default, as long as also patterns. So you can have your theme will have maybe 5 different overlay patterns, and then you'll select, well, this one is going to be the default, and you'll assign it to the navigation block you want it to have it, and you'll instantly have it as soon as you activate the theme, which is really nice. I've also been tinkering with it on my personal blog. I was like, now that I can have it, because I have Gutenberg on it, I will, yes, I need to put it on and change the colors and center it and put the site logo on it and all this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited about what other people are going to be able to do with it. I think it's quite flexible, and I think there's still more work to make it more flexible. Like things we want for people to be able to do something like if they want to make their overlay like maybe always on, not just on mobile, and not have it be full width, maybe only have like half the viewport. In the future they will be able to do that. Right now there's only one thing where you can't really close it by clicking outside of it, which is the thing that we need to fix. But
Yeah.
once we have that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah, there was Nick Jago a year and a half or so ago wrote a tutorial on the developer blog about how to create mega menus.
Yes,
And
I
he
remember
had
that.
and
Yeah, that's the next step too.
he
Yeah.
had this idea with template parts and then
Yeah.
push it into the navigation bar. But of course, it wasn't wired up from core, so he had
Yeah.
to do some interesting workarounds. And then Mike McAllister, with his Ollie theme builder,
Yes.
he had a
Yes.
plugin
Yeah.
called the Menu Builder, and it's in the repo.
Yeah.
And there was
I
also
think that was a big inspiration when we were working on the navigation overlay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and there was a conversation between Mike McAllister and also Matt Mullenweg on Twitter, and how to get this into core. And I'm glad it's now there, and it can
Yeah.
be, of course, everything can be improved. But I think
This is V1.
it's phase one. Like
Yeah.
I explained yesterday, it's phase one. It's baby steps. It can't be fully featured.
We iterate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but today, completely a different thing was an announcement. No, it was yesterday actually, that your browser becomes your WordPress. It's the announcement of my.wordpress.net. It's a browser-based sign-up free WordPress built on WordPress Playground. And those of you, dear listeners, who know Playground wouldn't be all surprised how this is going to work. But the site is private across visits because it's automatically saved in your browser. But it also offers an app catalog and one-click installs for personal CRM and RSS reader. And it's kind of a prototype for maybe seen as a WordPress democratizing digital sovereignty, because you don't have to put it on a central place. You have it all on your browser, on your machine, and you can interact with your machine with it. It also has a hook into an AI assistant if you want to, and also some other apps. But the plugin and the WordPress still is what it is. But Matt also posted about it on his personal blog, Matt Mullenweg, under ma.tt, and he calls it the WordPress everywhere and outlines the strategy as well. And he can see that this one thing that's in your browser and only for you can have peer-to-peer sync with another person's My WordPress, could have version control and also cloud publishing, which means pushing it to a host or pushing segments of it, like single posts to another public website, or any way you want to kind of think about it. But it's a kind of atomic container, composable units, and you can fully roll back. You can just say, okay, I don't want it anymore, and then it's gone. But it shifts, Monowick hopes it shifts from WordPress for millions to WordPress for billions. We'll see. We'll talk about it in the next 20 years about it. So Arjun, so AI will enhance it, and the open source power is really coming to life in that vision. We'll see if we can get the product also to fulfill all those promises. I got a chance to try it out in early stages. It's mainly built by Alex Kirk, and he published it and then went on sabbatical. So it's kind of what's this little baby? Yeah, took a little break, and I think it's a wonderful proof of concept. It's a rough experiment, definitely, but I love the app launcher instead of plugins, because that's kind of a different metaphor. Yeah, kind of if we can have this single install additional apps in WordPress, that would be so much more approachable than plugins that need to be installed and find and everything. And it's a personal note-taking app with many others out there. But this would lets you connect your personal ideas with what you're doing out on the web and bring it in certain ways or other. So you can kind of put it together. So if you have a chat with your AI, you can copy paste it into your private WordPress and think about it some more and write about it, or add it with other information and resources, and just keep your own learning process private, but it's not in a Google Doc. It's just out there in the browser, easy to use because it's in WordPress. But yeah, there's so many ideas that I all of a sudden had with that. So I really liked it. It was
Nice.
announced yesterday, so you probably haven't gotten an
Yeah, I know.
opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out. Sounds
Yeah,
really interesting.
definitely do that. Yeah, TechCrunch also had, and I will share all the links in the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
TechCrunch also had a little report about it. So yeah, check it out. Of course, it's the first version, as always, in WordPress, and it's baby steps, right? Now, with WordPress Beta 4 being out, the first Dev Notes appear on the Make blog. And
Yeah.
there were quite a few that are about the block editor. The first breadcrumbs block is coming to WordPress 7.0,
Yeah.
and the Dev Note talks about the block filters. Learn how to use it with 2 PHP filters or customize it, and with the trail terms and also the taxonomy terms. The interface is actually more like, okay, we will find out where your page is. Is it a subpage of a page section, or is it a post in a category? And we put the things that we know about it into the breadcrumbs. And there's you can have a home link in there, and you can have the current page also in the trail if you want to. But that's kind of, so yeah, I share the Dev Notes in the show notes. We're talking about all 6 or 7 of them. So yeah. But
Yeah.
have you worked with the breadcrumbs block?
No, I had a time when I was working on WooCommerce theme development for a little while, and I knew that that was needed, and I think Woo had its own little solution. So I'm really happy to see that there's something coming to core that definitely helps for any use case, not just the commerce
Yeah,
sites. So
yeah, they
yeah,
were,
definitely
yeah.
need it. Will help SEO and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few plugins out there. I think SEO had it already in there. So, but I'm not quite sure they were all block-based. So having a block in there, and you can actually put them on any page. Yeah, you don't have to put them in the template. So yeah, you can connect with, have
Great.
the visitor not getting lost so much on your big website. The next time we already mentioned
Yeah.
that's the customizable navigation overlays. And theme developers learn how to register and bundle the new navigation overlay and customize that. That's what you said for the mobile navigation. Yeah, the overlay, when I demonstrated yesterday, it had always used as overlay as a navigation. So the default navigation will never show, you always show the overlay, but that's kind of full page, and then you have to close it. Yeah, you mentioned that already. Yeah. So how would theme developers register and bundle then?
So there's a couple of options. So they can just do patterns and tag them as core slash, I think, navigation overlay. I think it's on the dev note. And and that would have those patterns show on the sidebar when you create a new one. And right now we only have the ones that are coming from core, but if a theme bundles a few patterns more, you'll see them too. But you can also, as a themer, decide, well, I want to not only bundle patterns, but also decide right away that the header that I've designed will have a specific overlay. And they can decide which one and link it by having the attribute to the navigation block specifically. And if you want to have 4 headers for a website, for a theme, and each one of them is going to have a different overlay, you can absolutely do that. So you're not tied to just one for the whole website. You can decide in a per block basis. So it's really nice.
Awesome.
If a theme doesn't want to do that, or you're using a theme that it's older than this feature, but you still want to use the navigation overlay, you can only need to click on the navigation block and go to the settings and click on there's an overlay on the inspector on the sidebar. You can create a new overlay, and it will automatically give you the simple one that's just your navigation block and the close button with a white background, and you can customize it or use one of the bundle patterns that came with the feature.
Yeah. Is it possible to switch out those patterns?
Yeah, the same way you can for when you create a new page, and it will show you all on the sidebar or this pop-up that tells you all the different patterns that come with your theme, you can completely replace them. Yeah.
Okay.
The same
Okay.
like you
Cool.
do
Yeah.
when the query block and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I think a lot of theme developers are going to try it out and maybe have an
Yeah,
update to
can't
their
wait
themes.
what
Yeah.
they come to see
Yeah.
what they come with. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next Dev Note is about the Changes Interactivity API, and that's pretty much a new watch function, or that's implementing a new watch function for the server-side state URL and populate cleaner patterns for side effects and navigation tracking. And there's also the state.navigation is going to be deprecated. So watch out for those deprecation notices in the console block. Another Dev Note covers all the changes on the data views, the data form, and the field API. And there are some substantial updates in the API with new layouts, validation rules, grouping options for the table, and then picker improvements, and yeah, the whole package. I think it's now in the version 13 or so for the data views. So it's pretty great to use for plugin pages,
Oh yeah.
and sites. So you don't have to make any of the design decisions and keep
Yeah,
up
yeah.
your components. Those are really stable
Yes,
now.
they are.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
makes really fun. And Claude code can really work with them.
That's great.
Just need to make sure that it's kind of looking at the right version. So, and then there is a PHP only block registration. A lot of people, PHP
Yeah, very
developers,
excited about this.
are excited about this. Yeah, yeah. It has all the details in the Dev Note about auto register, and also how you can, with the auto registration, you also can get all the inspector controls on the sidebar if you enable the support for that. And I will share this also in the show notes. Brian Welcher has on his private or personal blog wrote a whole tutorial on about how to create a block like that and kind of walk you through step by step. I'm sure he also did a live stream on it, or multiple, but I think that's both of them. You can kind of look at the live stream on YouTube. So a lot of developers are really excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next one is about the pseudo element support for blocks and their variation in theme JSON. And Maggie, you worked on that. How does it work?
Yeah. So this is basically just working on top of what we already have. Like the theme developers can already define via theme JSON support for hover, focus visible on all of these states for their blocks, like the buttons block on theme JSON, but we have variations for blocks, and in particularly on the buttons block, we have like the outline variation, and you could on theme JSON change the background color for hover on your default button block. But if someone decides to use the outline, there was no way without using manually CSS to change the hover for the outline. So this little change adds that feature. But I think I wanted to talk about what's coming up that's not making it to 7.0,
Yeah,
but will make it for the next one, which
yeah.
we're finally.
Hang on.
Yeah, tell me.
I have a
Tell me,
question
tell me.
to
Sorry.
the hover block theme JSON. So I could do hover and focus changes also to other blocks than buttons. Is that what you're selling? Or only to the
No, no.
button style
So
variations?
only for the way it worked before is you could do it for button blocks and elements and links blocks and elements. Well, there's no link blocks, so the link element.
Okay.
You could do that. And now you can also do it on the variations. So if
Okay.
you have
Now I
a
got it.
variation that's created by core or one that you create yourself,
Mhm.
you can also add hover for it. And
That's
what's
good.
coming up?
Okay. So what's
What's
coming up now?
yeah, what's coming
You,
up is we're finally merged, I think it was yesterday, the UI for controlling adding that hover using the editor and not only theme JSON. So
oh,
if you have your button block, you just go on the site editor, go to global styles, and you'll have on the top right, you'll have a drop down that will let you see all the different states that your button can be in, and you select from that drop down, like hover and then change anything, change color, change typography, change font size. You can even, we've even tested that you can change and put it on your hover. You can change the right mode and put it so it's vertical instead of horizontal. And when you hover your button, it suddenly flips and it becomes vertical.
It wants my attention, Yeah,
Don't
cool.
follow that advice, probably very not accessible.
Yeah, but that's cool because a lot of people are just designing without with the site editor, and having all that UI is really important to have that. Yes,
I think it was one of the issues that had more comments in Gutenberg. The pattern issue that I was asking for those controls.
Yeah, I imagine, But that's not coming in 7.0. Just clarify, that's in
that's
plan
coming
for
on
7.
on the next Gutenberg release. So you will talk about this on the next changelog.
Yes, it will come to Gutenberg 22.8. Yeah. It's already merged, so it's in the milestone. So well, you have to wait another 2 weeks, but okay. Yeah, and the next Dev Note is all about real-time collaboration, the block editor. It's essential reading for plugin developers, and to learn how the classic meta box disable the collaboration mode by default, and how to use the sync providers filter to customize your transport layer. Because right now it's all on HTTP, and it's kind of reduced to just, I think, 2 people or 3 people, just to make it also available to shared hosting. But if you have VS virtual hosting or virtual boxes or your own servers, you can actually switch out the providers and have more people being on there in collaboration. And there are some pitfalls or unintended block insertion side effects that need to be kind of looked at, not only for plugin developers, but also for site owners and agency developers. So that's definitely a very important Dev Note to read. Speaking of side effects, have you done any collaborative editing yet?
No, I've not.
On your website?
Yeah, no.
It's really cool, but I got some trouble yesterday when I was demoing. Of course, live demo is always the interesting part, right? I got the notification that I lost the connection to the server, and although it was only me in there, so couldn't have been. As I was a little bit, I need to track it down for maybe a bug report, but could also be the technology in the room, because we had some Beamer issues and it wouldn't show the drop downs. It was interesting. I was trying to show off the aspect ratio drop downs for the gallery block, and it would only show the active one, but not the rest of it. It's kind of was very weird. I was talking, and sooner or later they let me know that they don't see anything, but it was kind of weird. But anyway. So, and then the iframed editor changes for WordPress 7.0. There wasn't a post earlier that 7.0 brings automatic iframing post editor, but that has been moved to 7.1. So you have a little bit of a grace period, plugin developers, because those blocks that are in version 1 or version 2 of blocks.json trigger that the post editor is not iframed. And the iframed version is actually really helpful when you want to separate concerns from the block editor and from the rest of the admin. But the big part is also not only meta boxes is not this problem there, but it's the version. And we have not seen all the things that may go wrong are actually only theoretical. We have not seen it yet. So, but we still need to do some more testing. And if it's now in the Gutenberg plugin, so if you want to test it, that would be really cool to see if your site or some of the blocks that you have from earlier block collection that are still on your website, make sure you test it and see if anything breaks. And if it does, let us know wherever you can. You can comment on the Gutenberg Times, you can comment on the make.blog or on GitHub, anywhere you want. In the Slack channel, there's an outreach channel, is a good place to post those as well. So yeah, we definitely need some wider testing with the Gutenberg plugin and what happens with the blocks of the earlier version of blocks. And I will do some testing when I get back from my travels. And that's probably what I'm going to do at Contributor Day in WordCamp Asia, is testing some of the old plugins. I have still on my website somewhere on the Gutenberg Times, I have a list of 100 plugins. And some of them, I think 40 of them were block collections. So I'm going to install them all and see if they break, and see, or maybe have Playground write some automation for that. Yeah, we'll see how that works. But that's definitely what I'm going to aim for. Yeah. Dev Notes, we are kind of a little bit in the know. There are 7 more Dev Notes coming for WordPress 7. They will all be released for the field guide, which is coming out with the release candidate 1, not the same day, but maybe a day later. And that's about the block visibility and the pattern editing. Who knew we're now supporting Unicode in email addresses? And then some simplified HTML5 tags in WordPress, then the new block support for text indent.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice too. And then the custom CSS for individual block instance in WordPress 7.0, and the dimension support enhancement that come to WordPress. So those are Dev Notes coming up. And we're now going into what's released. And this week was a little bit of a release galore. So there was WordPress 6.9.2 came out as a security release. And that had one bug that kind of, for a few sites, had a white space, a blank page on the front end. And that was fixed within hours to 6.9.3.
Yeah.
But that coincided with having a release for 7.0 beta 4.
Yeah.
And that was kind of all one after another. And once it was out, it was found out that there were 3 of the 10 security fixes that were in 6.9.2 didn't actually make it into 6.9.3.
Oh.
They made it into beta 4. So that's kind of, when you have these clashes of versions, something happens. And so they had to create another 6.9 point release, the number 4. But it's really amazing how much goes into some of the releases.
Yeah. They work so fast too. It's amazing. It's really impressive.
And how you can do this one after another. There were 2 a day, and then it's really amazing. Great work for the other contributors.
It's amazing.
Into the night, and they were handing it off from one person to the next because the time zone changed. It's like a release relay.
Like a well-oiled machine.
It was. But still some hiccups in there. So
always.
All right, so now we come to Gutenberg 22.7. We were all waiting for that, right? So the enhancements are starting not with block library. Right now, the first thing on the changelog is that PHP My Admin is now supported by the WN Playground runtime. So you can then have access to the database right from your Playground WN local environment, which is really cool because then, you have the whole thing. It still is SQL, but it's the PHP My Admin, what we all love and used to for the last 20 years to connect with the database. What's also in 22.7 is the connectors screen that has been backported already to WordPress 7.0. And that is the single place where you can connect your website to external services. It starts with AI provider, but it's not going to stop there. It's any service that you have to connect to get data in or get data out, you can put to the connector screen. And also plugins can use it to organize the handoff of keys, API keys and connectors, security, we have public keys and all that, or securities. And what also happens is that the providers that are connected with prefix with AI will also register with the WP AI client. So then a plugin can push prompts to an AI that is connected if there is one available. So it's really interesting how that comes to pass. And well, I have on my list to do kind of how you write a plugin to connect to an open weather app. Just get the free key and then have the weather around be displayed on a website. I think that's a nice example tutorial that we could do. So, and the next one?
Yeah, the next one is the playlist block, which is ramping up. It's getting the waveform player visualization, where Ben has been implementing this open source visualizer instead of creating one that we need to maintain, and applied it to the playlist block, which is, I think it's, I don't know if it's going to make it. No, it's going to be for 7.1 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's looking really, really nice. I can't wait to have this for themes. I was just looking into the original playlist because I kind of like to do this kind of thing, which is
Yeah,
look
of
how
course.
all the issues that we're closing are, and it's issue 805
Oh,
from
wow.
2017. So we're doing that in 2026, which is great, honestly. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's looking so good. I love it. I can't wait. I have a bunch of friends from the Sevilla community who are podcasters, and I can't wait to see what they can make with it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to put it also on the
Oh
Gutenberg
yeah,
Times. Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
And
You let us know if it fails or
oh yeah,
there's
of course.
bugs.
Yeah. I have opinions.
Okay, go
I
for it.
travel.
Go for it.
Yeah. I also know that, so our team, which is Justin Taglog, Ryan Welcher, Jonathan Bossinger, Juan Margarito, we are all working on a showcase for a band website. And I know that, and
Oh,
Justin
that's so cool.
does the theme for it, and he has already built with
Of
the
course he
play
has.
with the playlist blog, and it looks amazing, yeah, on those band
Oh,
websites when we have
love that.
albums and all that. I don't know when we release it, but it's definitely going to be for education of developers to kind of see
Hmm.
how interactivity API works, how some of the theme features work with that, and yeah, it's going to be really cool. Just as a side note there. Yeah, there were a few blocks that hadn't had a text-align block support added to it, or they had their own implementation.
Oh
And
yeah,
there was a big push in Gutenberg to make
yeah,
it available for all the blocks that have text in there
yeah,
to do the text-align things there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those code quality changes really make a difference on it.
Yeah. So there were 5 more in 22.7. 22.6 had 8 blocks that were going in
Great.
there. So I'm not sure they made it all to 7.0. No, no, they were
We
not
have
blackboarded.
many
Yeah, but
blocks, so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
painstaking work, honestly.
yeah. It's
Kudos.
taking work, yeah. And it
Yeah.
comes in when it comes in. So, and then there's also the
Yeah.
previews of style variation transforms. So you can say, okay, I want to transform certain sections into a different style variation. Now there's a little preview so people are not
That's really
surprised
useful.
what's happening. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
people don't like surprises. So if
Yeah.
they don't click, if they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, now we can also enable style variations, transforms for blocks that are in content only mode. If you're editing a pattern that has an image and you want to change to the variation with around the corners or something, you can do it within the UI of content only. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I saw that yesterday. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
And there's another change coming
Mhm.
up. Yeah, the block supports, you can define CSS bars for blocks based on feature selectors. This is a kind of like a complicated one that is setting up a lot of flexibility for blocks. And I've been using personally this option, this feature,
Mhm.
on a change that recently made it that I haven't talked about it yet here, but I think it will make it also on the next changelog, which is we've added for the navigation link the possibility to style the current item.
Mhm.
And the reason why this PR by Aaron is, well, and this feature in general by Aaron is useful is that so what this does is basically lets you define a CSS selector that's specific to a feature. So right now, block.json allows you to, before it used to only allow you to define like a selector for your block. That's what theme.json would target, but some features need something specific. In the case for the current navigation, we want to target the navigation link only if it has the current menu item class too.
Mhm.
So now you can go on block.json and say, when we're using the feature current, we want this CSS selector to be the one that we're using. So that is really flexible and allows for so many things that you can do with global styles and blocks.
Yeah, I think there was for custom blocks, you only could have a selector for the wrapper of the block, but the
Exactly.
inner blocks you weren't able to target without
But it's not only
with scene
that,
chasing.
like
Yeah.
in the case of the navigation, it's not about the wrapper only, but also because it's a very dynamic block that changes depending on the state it's in. It will change its classes. If you're visiting a specific page, it will have this current menu item class. So if you can target only that, that's very useful.
I think we need some little tutorial about that.
Yeah.
Later
I
on.
think well, that will definitely, like, the current menu item will definitely have a dev note for 7.1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's awesome. Thank you so much for pointing that out. The next one is that the grid block improved visualizer is now responsive. The visualizer's responsiveness has been approved. I wasn't quite sure which one was I was going. The grid block also got a little bit of improvement for 7.0, but that we already talked about it when I was going with Jessica, I think last episode. But I really like how the grid block is now. You can define a minimum width of your columns. And then even if it's a custom one, it kind of will then be responsive and stack the whole thing on your mobile. Right? So it's much easier to do. Yeah.
So strong, great.
Yeah. The grid block gets better and better, and I hope there is some time for some contributors to work on it for the 7.1 and 7.2, because it's so helpful to have that also in template parts and patterns and all that. So the PHP only blocks now has boundary attributes, values in the inspector controls. That wasn't before that. Now you can see it so they can be changed and automatically added to the custom block that is registered with PHP. And with the Gutenberg 22.7, the real-time collaboration is actually enabled by default. So
it's getting out of experiment then.
It was already out of experiment.
Oh, okay.
But it was actually opt-in before.
Oh, I see.
But now they switched it to opt-out.
Okay.
The space is the same. You go to the general settings, into writing, and then it's, I think, the third option from the top. You can disable it if you want to, if it gets into your way, like it did yesterday. At my demo, I disabled it and it was always fine. I'm just repeating it so I can remember to file a bug report and test this again.
Good call.
What's next?
You can disable multiple collaborators if meta boxes are present.
Yeah, and it's not that you can, it will disable multiple collaborators when meta boxes are present.
Right, you're right.
Because they
it clashes.
It clashes because the saving of the meta box and auto saving, they're not in sync. So you might lose content from the meta boxes in that, so it's automatically disabled there. There's an experiment in Gutenberg, it's called the content guidelines, and it comes through the WordPress AI team. They were exploring content guidelines as a Gutenberg experiment, as a dedicated structured place inside WordPress to cover your site's voice, tone, image, and copy standards. And it works with the REST API and custom post types and has an UI to manage that, but you need to enable it in your experiments page. It also has block level guidelines and import and export on the vision history. So what it does, it isn't for AI only, but AI, if you have an AI assistant that works with your website, the content guidelines are actually helping that AI to match your tone, to match your standards, your guidelines standards, your publishing standards, your pre-published checklist and all that. But also when an AI comes and goes to your website, then it will have more information about your website that's more in depth than what it knows from just scrolling it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so it supports site-wide categories like the site, the copy, the images, and additional, and then the block level stuff. That's kind of in the changelog of 22.7 as an experiment, and I don't know where it's going, but we will see how once it's tested and more people have to chime in to see if it makes it out of experiments or when it makes, not if, when.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see that. Yeah, kind of all of a sudden you have a second layer of concern. It's not only SEO, it's AEO, and then you have your own assistants kind of go in and do stuff. Yeah.
It's important to have default solution for this because WordPress is so extended. There needs to be something that everyone can build upon.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually the philosophy of the AI team is to build the plumbing.
Good defaults.
And defaults, so plugins can build on top of it, and there is a standard there. So that's kind of really cool. So when we have a few documentation items that we want to point out, well, because that's always a little bit different.
Always important to keep documentation up to date.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now more than ever.
Yeah, with all the new things coming in. So there is the theme JSON schema for the icon block, and then the documentation for the content role and the list view block supports. So custom blocks as well as theme can add the content role to things, patterns, template parts, templates.
Yeah.
It also has an improved parameter documentation for the icon block and updated README for data views, data forms, and the field API.
Yeah, with all those changes.
Stuff. All the changes.
Like the meme, all the changes.
All the changes. All the changes. Yeah. We like changes. Changes are hard, but we like them. Yeah. So I think that's the essence from what's in the changelog for Gutenberg 22.7. I have just one item that I wanted to touch base on with Maggie today with you about what's in development and discuss. We touched on some of it, but the tabs block unfortunately didn't make it in 7.0.
Yeah.
It's on its way to get into 7.1, and it was so close.
It really was, yeah. It was a little bit of a pity that it didn't make it, but I mean, so the thing was, another contributor, I think it was Aki, was reviewing the block when we were trying to stabilize it, and he raised important concerns, and we sat down and looked at it and thought, yeah, we think the structure of the block is not correct right now, and this is really important to get right, because once it's there, it just needs to stay. And this would have been a mess if we had to backtrack that. So yeah, those concerns have been mostly addressed in a PR. I think I have the link for you here. You can share it later. And there's a bunch of follow-ups coming after that, which means that the tabs is not only gonna be like in a really good state, but also it's gonna come with more things. One of those things is what I was talking before, that I was working on the current menu item, the ability of adding what we're calling states for blocks or elements. In the case of the current menu item, like the state of where a nav link is the current one that we're visiting. And in the case of the tabs, which tab you have currently open, we will be able to assign a tab as current and be able to style it as such. First via theme JSON, and then hopefully also for 7.1 with our new UI for states.
Awesome.
Yeah. Really excited for all of that. Everything's linked, everything works together.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah. I think the concern was that it didn't follow the usual how other blocks were built.
Yeah.
And it would kind of confuse not only contributors, but also those who kind of want to extend it. Seth Rubenstein worked on it quite a bit, and he actually had to bow out just before 7.0 for his own priorities. And I'm glad that you're picking
Sarah
up
picked it up. It was Sarah mainly. I was just reviewing and
Sarah, you said,
yeah. I was reviewing and supporting her, but it's been Sarah's work since she picked it up.
So that's coming, and we definitely will talk about it some more on other releases, and also have a call for testing. It won't be an official one, but I will make it to test it. Yeah. So, but now go back to testing 7.0. What's coming to a WordPress instant near you in a month, roughly in a month, April 9th, and it will be released. There will be a release panel at WordCamp Asia Contributor Day. So quite a few from the release squad are going to Mumbai to be on that panel. And I will see everybody there. I think it's after my workshop on theme development is actually after lunch. So we will all gonna sleep in my workshop. I'm really happy.
I'll have to catch up with that when you have it. When you've done it, because I'm not going to WordCamp Asia, but I want to see your workshop.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll
Great.
see. It's the first workshop that I do on theme development. So
Oh, nice.
it's going to be maybe a hit and miss. We'll see.
Sure, you'll do fine.
As always, dear listeners, this is the end, and the show notes will be published on gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. This is episode 128, 128. And if you have questions and suggestions or news you want us to include, send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. And Maggie Cabrera, thank you so much for being here and being such a great resource and talk about all the good things that you work on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for listening. And goodbye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.